We want to get to some breaking news this morning. Donald Trump's former attorney, Sidney Powell, just pleaded guilty in a deal with prosecutors over efforts to overturn Trump's election loss in Georgia. For more, we are joined by NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Dilanian. Ken, thanks for joining us on this. Just crossing the wires here. This was part of a plea deal. What exactly is Powell pleading guilty to, and what are the terms of the deal?
Savannah, Sidney Powell is admitting to a set of reduced charges involving election conspiracy. She's the second of these 19 defendants in Georgia to have pled guilty, and she's agreeing to testify truthfully as part of her plea deal, which essentially means she's going to testify against former President Donald Trump. And as part of this deal, she would be sentenced to 6 years probation, no jail time. So a good deal for her, considering that she was facing significant felony racketeering charges, as these other defendants are in this Georgia election case. And viewers will remember that she was a lawyer retained by Donald Trump who made some of the most outlandish claims of fraud in the election, filed lawsuits all over the country, all of which were totally repudiated. She's under bar sanctions and legal actions around the country, and then finally was charged as part of this case, now pleading guilty, a significant blow to former President Donald Trump's legal strategy because she was a key ally. She was in the room with Donald Trump as they discussed claims of fraud in this election, and she brought some of the really outlandish claims about alleged voter machine manipulations and plots involving foreign countries, none of which were true. And if she gets on the stand and admits that none of that was true, that's going to be powerful evidence in that Georgia case. So,
Ken, if you are the former president, you're a member of his current legal team, what does this news mean for you today? What do you think they are thinking in hearing this?
It's not completely unexpected, but nonetheless a devastating blow. They had to figure that when the state of Georgia brought these significant racketeering charges against a group of 19 people, that some of them would decide it's in their best interest to plead guilty, take their lumps, and cut a deal. And that is, in fact, what's happening. This is, again, the second person to plead guilty. But this is a big one. They must be significantly worried about what she can testify to. They may make claims of attorney-client privilege to the extent that she was representing former President Trump, although that's not entirely clear whether she was actually representing him or whether she was merely bringing lawsuits alleging fraud on her own behalf or on behalf of others. That remains to be seen. But they got to be significantly worried about what she could possibly testify to, Savannah.
Yeah, so that's what I want to ask about. A big piece of this here that we know, she's now required to testify in these other trials. Tell us more about what kind of information she has that the Trump legal team would specifically be worried about.
Well, remember, at one point, we learned this during the January 6th hearings, Donald Trump was contemplating appointing Sidney Powell as a special counsel to investigate allegations of fraud in the election. The Justice Department, remember those Trump appointees, they came to testify. They revolted against that, told them it would be a horrible idea. People inside the White House were trying to keep her away from Donald Trump because they said she was making absolutely outlandish claims that he was then adopting. So to the extent that she can speak to what she was saying to Donald Trump and whether he actually believed these claims or whether he was using them merely as a strategy to try to stay in power, that would be devastating testimony. If she comes in and says that actually Donald Trump knew he lost the election and we made this stuff up and we said it anyway, that would be, you know, very, very damaging. It remains to be seen whether that's going to be her testimony. But just the idea that she can come in and testify about conversations that she had with former President Trump about what evidence they had, what their ideas were about fraud in that election, which we now know was bogus allegations, that's a big deal.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.